I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
Estamos en vivo. Empezamos en 3, 2, 1.
All right, Dudley. That's our first Spanish countdown.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, guys, we're at the NWTF show. And look, Dudley and I are running the board here. And maybe this is the first time we've ever done that, but I think
we hit all the right buttons.
The NWTF brings in people from all over the country, but all over the world, actually. So we're sitting here with a man that is legendary. If you want to go to Mexico and kill a Goulds or an Ocellated, this is one of the better guys. And we're sitting here. I'm talking to Manuel Enriquez.
Enriquez. Manuel Enriquez.
Enriquez. Yeah, Manuel Enriquez. And he is with Halcon Outfitters, which means Falcon.
The Falcon.
Yeah. And then across the table, we've got his beautiful wife, Chelita. Or is it Chelito? Chelito. We've got his beautiful wife, Chelito. She's joining us. And Dudley, I'm nervous having his wife sit over here. She's making me nervous. I'm not going to.
Well, you would have messed their names up anyway, because you do every time, Bobby.
I do. So. And there's no disrespect. We have a hard time with names. Guys, we want to learn about we want to learn about these Goulds birds. You're in the state of Chihuahua.
The state of Chihuahua, yes.
Tell us, where is that located? I mean, when we think about Arizona and New Mexico, how far have we got to travel into Mexico to do this Gould hunt with you?
It's the state of Chihuahua borders the states of New Mexico and Texas. Okay, and our lodge is 250 miles south of the U.S. border. You fly into Chihuahua City, we pick you up there, and it's 80 miles southwest of Chihuahua City, on the outskirts of the Sierra Madre Mountains.
Okay, so these birds that you're hunting, are they in the mountains themselves?
They're in the mountains, yes.
I'm told it's a beautiful hunt.
It is. It'll be. A lot of the country is just like hunting elk in New Mexico or Colorado. Just like that. And then this bird, the Goulds turkeys, are a bigger bird, not necessarily heavy-wise. Their legs are longer, the feathers are longer. So when it comes strutting at you, you look like it's a VW coming in at you. Everybody's amazed of how big these birds are.
Dudley, I've had a number of friends that have gone, and they have commented about how strikingly beautiful the terrain is.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like, I did not expect it to be as beautiful it is. How has this been such a well-kept secret about Mexico?
Oh, that I really don't know, but the NWTF has done a great job promoting all subspecies of turkeys. They have really pushed people into going to Mexico, getting the Goulds, getting the Ocellated, getting people to hunt, getting the slam with a shotgun, with all calibers, 410, 20 gauge, 12 gauge, and it just, the fever is out there, I guess. Everybody wants to get a Goulds, get an Ocellated, get the World Slam. Well, not everybody, because not everybody can make it down there, but a lot of people,
Well, for years, people have been doing the slam.
Yes.
And here in the United States, so this would just add to that. And you're saying it's called a royal slam if you're able to kill both of those.
You kill the 4 birds here in the U.S., it's a slam. Now, if you had a Goulds, it's a royal slam, and then to get a world slam, you have to go down to the Yucatan Peninsula and get the Ocellated.
So the Goulds in the States, that's a tough bird to draw. My understanding is they are in Arizona
and New Mexico.
But I think you can draw it, but it's really rare. I remember in 1997, I went on a backpacking trip with some friends in the Sky Islands in Arizona, and I saw some turkey tracks. And later I found out that they had just released Gould's birds there. And I don't even know if they have a huntable population yet or not, but I've always been intrigued with that subspecies.
Yeah, they opened up the season. I really couldn't tell you. Maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
But they have very
It's very
few-
limited.
Very limited. That's right. Probably 10, 15 tags in Arizona, and I understand maybe something like 5 in New Mexico, something like that. I'm not.
So, but you can easily go across the border to Mexico now and hunt with an outfitter like yourself, and they're very plentiful. The habitat is
yeah.
great.
Yes.
That's my bucket list. That's
It's-
where I want to go.
It sounds like you're a turkey hunter yourself. I mean, so you understand what a guy wants and expects because you've hunted here in the United States.
Yeah, I've done my share of hunting here in the States. Not necessarily turkeys, but hunted here. I hunted rams, sheep, elk. I've done a lot of hunting. And, I grew up, my father started the outfitting back in the 60s. So, grew up with this thing. My dad was 30 years, he was the president of the Hotel Motel Association in Chihuahua, in the state of Chihuahua. And well, you want I want I want to go on a hunt and be treated right. So I treat everyone the way I would like to be treated when I go on a hunt. And I've gone to some good ones and some not so good ones, but
Well, that's why they call it hunting.
yeah.
So our friend Jason Hart told us all about you and said you got to get this guy on the podcast. And he said you went to school in the States. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
6 years. 6
Okay.
years. 2 years at New Mexico Military Institute, and then from there I transferred to University of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Still a Sooner.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in the SEC now. How about that?
It'll be tough a couple of years, but they'll come up. They have a good football team for
Yeah,
that.
historically, they do for sure. Well, I'd like to learn a little bit about the Goulds. Has it always been a plentiful bird in Mexico, or have y'all done some restoration efforts? What's the story there?
No, it's always been plentiful. Yes, and growing up, I just saw turkeys. We got up in the mountains and we saw turkeys. Didn't think much of it. Well, I was pretty excited to see them. Any time we see wildlife, you're pretty excited. And a friend of mine told me about the NWTF, and that there was a market for the Gould's turkey, and started looking into it. After I've been outfitting for waterfowl already. My dad started in the 60s. I took over in 84 once I was done with school. And back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, that's when they told me about it, and I started looking into it. I didn't know nothing about turkey hunting back then. Bought some videos and talked to some people, and said, well, I guess as long as we have the right properties with plenty of turkeys, it'll be a process. It'll be learning along the way, and that's how it was. I guide myself, my son's guide. Well, I don't care to stay at the lodge just watching TV or something. I want to be out there where the action is.
Yeah. So these birds are you're gonna go hunt a bird off the limb, off the roost, and call to him, and
The
on
same
the-
way
on
you
the
would
side of
do a
these
hunt
mountains.
right here.
Yeah.
Yes, and with that, like we mentioned before, beautiful scenery, really nice. Fresh air in the morning, cool air. It can be cool in the morning, early in the season. Up to 20 degrees
These
Fahrenheit.
Do these Goulds birds gobble good?
Very good. Yes, very callable. A lot of people tell me, no, don't call so much. Don't call so much. Oh, you can never overcall a Gould's turkey. They're not used to hearing a call. It's always their own hands and
Yeah.
and
So what's a hunter? He can kill one bird. And how do you do that?
it's the system over there. It used to be over the counter, and only one bird was allowed. This is probably 15 years ago. Now they give you similar to the New Mexico landowner permit. They give so many tags per property, so you can buy. You can buy as many tags as you want. Really, I try to keep it at 2. For our hunters. I sell one turkey hunt, but give them the option to get a second one if they want to.
Yeah. And how many days typically does that take?
4 days.
4 days. Dudley, you think you could get a turkey killed in 4 days? And
Me? That's a
you're
probably
looking at all
not.
the trees. I bet they got some pretty oak trees down there.
Well, they do. And he hit on this earlier. It's almost like the Rockies, but the further down you get in elevation, or if you're on a south facing slope, it can be everything from cactus and desert. And if you get high enough in elevation, you may see some aspen trees, like you're in the Rocky Mountains. But lots of oaks and things like that. And I would assume that's one of their primary foods is probably,
Yes.
Insects, acorns, things like
Acorns,
that.
pinyon pine.
See, we don't have those big pine seeds. The pinyon pines over there are huge.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The pine nuts.
Mhm.
They went back in when late September, early October. That's when those pine cones open up and they drop those pine nuts. The turkeys really like those too, as good as the acorns.
Well, Jason has been 5 times. It must be pretty good. There must be something to it. He's made the comment about how much he enjoys you
Well,
and the friendship, and you're a rabid college football fan, and that's like your main interest in life.
every time football season comes around, I start texting him, "Good luck to Clemson," and he goes back, "Well, I'm rooting for the Sooners."
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can believe he's really doing that or not, but it's interesting to think about somebody in Mexico that's watching college football, watching Mississippi State play, or whoever. But it really is it's pretty universal.
Saturday in our house, mi casa, su casa. It's college football all day long. I mean, not just Oklahoma football, but every oh, this is a good game. Let's watch that one. And barbecue outside and college football.
How about that?
Love it.
So tell us about the lodge. What kind of setup can a guy expect?
It's pretty much like a motel type accommodations. At the Goulds camp, we have it. It's 2.5 hours from the airport, Chihuahua City Airport. We'll travel to the lodge. It's our farm. It's our family farm that we have there. My dad built this lodge. You come in and you come into the dining room, and then on the left we have a hallway that takes you to the rooms. All rooms are 2 double beds in each room. Your private bathroom, all of that. Just like a motel type accommodation. And then we have the liar's room, where everybody goes and have a drink, a margarita or something,
Oh, yeah.
and tell the big lies stories.
Tell your lies. Yeah.
Well, so would you have a guide that would just get you in the area and to help you get on the birds and then kind of turn you loose and let you call and do your own thing, or?
On the Goulds hunt, we have 1 guide per 2 hunters, okay? And he'll be with you at all times. My son Carlos and I will be in camp. We guide ourselves. Sometimes he goes with one group, I go with another group. That way there'll be somebody that speaks English, because not all the guys poquito English.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I'm pretty fluent in Spanish myself. So I gotta ask. I mean, talk to me, explain to me, make me comfortable with the safety factor of coming down there.
Okay. It's the same as every other big city. We have a lot of people are worried about coming down to Mexico because they hear a lot of stories about the cartel. They're there like probably everywhere else. I don't know. But as long as you don't mess around with them, you don't travel certain hours of the night, especially at night. You don't travel certain areas or certain times. You don't. What do I want to say? You don't step on their toes.
Okay.
You see something, you keep it to yourself. You're not going to tell the police. You're not going to you're not going to say nothing. You see something, that's their problem. This is mine. Just let me work, and everybody knows us in the area.
That's what I was going to say. It's probably a lot about who you know, and they know everybody. So I mean,
Yeah,
you've been in that area. Your family's been in that area forever.
Lanny, we're always in here. We always have these interesting guests, and you're always on your computer. What's up?
I'm looking at Onyx the whole time. I love the app, but I love the desktop too.
My favorite thing is Bobby doesn't know how to shut his computer down,
Yeah.
so I can go in there and share his pins to my account.
That's what you were doing in there this morning.
Yep.
Back during deer season, I shot a couple of big bucks.
Of
But
course.
As I'm looking for them, I can
Couple.
turn on this tracking feature.
Yeah.
And I can see where I've looked.
And I use that feature too for spreading seeds, spreading fertilizer, spraying. It really keeps you on track.
Onyx is a great company. Look, we know Jared. They're hunters,
They
just
are.
like we are.
Yes,
So they're
no
serious
doubt
about
about
this.
it.
The way they've designed this thing, a hunter and a gamekeeper can take advantage of it and make their property better.
Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% off of your Onyx subscription.
Yeah, and Mac, you shouldn't do that now. Richie, you got to help me. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I didn't mean to offend, but I think that a lot of people would ask that question.
Oh,
You
yeah,
just-
everybody here at the convention, the first question is, how's the safety over there?
Yeah.
And I just tell them, I'm there, and I have people that have been asking me, well, I'll get there whenever things are better, because my wife, if I go down there, my wife might be worried and think I won't get back. And I said, well, you see me here every year. I'll be right there with you,
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell someone when things are bad. We've been coming here since 96. 96 was my first convention. And only 1 year that I have missed, probably, I don't remember if it was 2009 or 2010. Yeah, things got a little bit out of hand over there. And I said, if I don't have any good news to tell people over there, why am I going to go,
Yeah.
But it's as long as you don't want to go to certain places like everywhere else, like your cities of Memphis, Atlanta, there are certain areas you don't go in there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
It's the same thing over there.
Okay, let's get it back to turkeys, the Goulds. So, if Dudley and I were there, there'd be a guide with us that may or may not speak Spanish. But if you're lucky, Dudley, if you're with me, you'd be able to. I can interpret everything.
Yeah, English.
But
sure.
would he let us call? Would we be able to do?
Yeah. If the hunter wants to call the bird himself, more than welcome. Yeah, we'll tell him exactly what kind of calls to bring. The Goulds turkey don't like the raspy calls like your Eastern hens. They real raspy. These ones are really high pitch.
Yeah.
I want to say we've discussed this already. Is it the Miriams that's Toxie was saying have slightly higher pitched yelps? Maybe it was Cuz saying that he went one time and nothing was answering him. And the guide was like, you need to use one of these. And he said, that doesn't sound right. And he started using it. And
Yep.
things started gobbling at him. That's interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And so you guys have a pretty good handle on what's working at the time and can make suggestions and
Yes.
whatnot.
Oh,
but-
yeah. Yeah. We let everybody know, week after week, how the birds are working.
And so is there an established turkey season over there?
Yes.
And how does that work? So what are the dates?
Okay. Gould season starts mid-March till the first week in June.
Okay.
And we start getting hunters. Middle of March, birds are not doing
Still a little
much.
bit early.
They're still early, yes. So we don't start booking hunts till first week in April. That's when we start hunting. That's when they start getting active. You would see a big difference. The first week is always, the week before we go calling. We go around the places calling because that would get the turkeys a little excited. And the next week will be a lot easier because a lot of times we just started, we didn't do anything, no calling, no nothing, was scouting, and all of a sudden we started hunting, and we noticed that the second week was even better than the first one because you get them calling and you start getting them into the
Okay.
mood,
That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And it goes all the way into June.
First week in June.
Okay.
Yes.
And then they begin nesting and it's harder to call them in.
Yep.
Okay. Much
Yep.
like
Oh,
much
so-
like at home.
Very similar to that.
So how much ground do y'all have access to?
Oof, bunch.
Yeah.
Probably I can put together over 500,000 acres.
Oh wow.
I have a property that I've been paying leases on that property for 5 years. And last year I said, you know what? I've been paying leases on this thing. I don't want to lose the property, so we better start hunting it. That property alone is almost 120,000 acres. Never even touched it until last year. I said, let's go. It's a little farther out than we want to go, but
Can you imagine if we had 500,000 acres and nobody else was turkey hunting on it?
I can't imagine it.
So I mean, you can, you may have a good area and you take some birds off of it. You may could take a year or two off and go hunt other areas and let that area rebound. So that's a great advantage.
yeah, there's years that we don't touch some of the properties, and you can really see that the wildlife there is getting better. All of a sudden we go 1 year and, oh man, there is a lot of turkeys. How come I didn't come last year?
What other wildlife could our guy expect to see?
Coos deer. Coos deer is a subspecies of a whitetail.
Okay.
It's a high desert whitetail.
That would be fun. Do you ever do coos deer hunts?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We used to do them big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another one on my bucket list.
What about mountain lions?
Oh, there
Chance of
is.
seeing one?
It is big mountain lion country over there too. Yeah.
Bears?
No, very little. Some area that we have a good population of bears, but the turkeys are in that many numbers over there.
So, like in the
Big
United
numbers.
States, we've got the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that kind of oversees. And does Mexico have something similar to that?
Yes, we have the Semarnat.
Let's say that again.
Semarnat.
And what does that? What does that mean?
It's a Secretary of Natural Resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they consider hunting to be a big economic of economic importance?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. The government might not be that much interested as your officials here, or your U.S. government, but they are. We have a lot of talks with them. Some of the outfitters that we work together, we go and talk to them and throw ideas at them of what they can help us with or what they should change. And most of the time they do listen to us.
Yeah, I would think that you guys have as much information to be able to provide to them for ideas and
Yes.
suggestions of how things could work, because you have a vested interest in seeing it be
Oh, yeah.
better and better.
Yes.
And a lot of it is so remote and a lot of it is not getting hunted. So that it would make sense that they would be getting their best information from the outfitters themselves.
Now, Chalita sat here very quietly. Is she a hunter?
No, she's not.
Not
She's
yet.
not. But you know what? One time I said, I'm going to go scouting. Why don't you come alone? And we got on this ridge. We walked all the way down to that ridge, and then I came back calling. And all of a sudden I hear this gobbling. I said, sit down. We're going to wait a little bit here. And there'll be a turkey coming in through here pretty soon. Made a couple more calls, and all of a sudden that turkey gobbled really close. Her neck got this long.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
He said, man, this is beautiful. I really like this. She was really excited with that. And she's not a hunter, but she enjoys the outdoors big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's important, especially with doing what you do for a living. So for her to be able to understand what it is that people want to travel down there and spend time hunting with you, the reasons behind it.
Yeah, she's gone with me in a couple of hunts too, and she really enjoyed it.
Have you got any good Gould stories you could tell us? Some kind of crazy hunt, some exciting hunt we're just trying to pique people's interest in coming down there and hunting with you. Have you got any good stories?
Oh, lots of them. Might not even have enough time to tell all of them.
And some of your clients have included, like Rob Keck hunts with you.
Yeah, I met Rob a long time ago, and we've been really, really good friends for many, many years.
I suspect I've seen their hunts on TV before. If
Yep.
he's been hunting with NWTF folks over the years, I remember one pretty vividly where a woman killed that was with the NWTF. Her name's escaping me, but went on a Goulds hunt, and it was some awesome footage. It was a lot of birds. They were coming down this little canyon right at them. And they probably didn't have anywhere else they could have gone. But I just remember seeing it all go down,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
really exciting. And the terrain there, it's great.
We enjoy meeting the people, learning. Well, we first meet him here, but then you hunt with somebody for 4 or 5 days, you become really good friends,
You
I
do,
guess.
yeah.
Because you start knowing about each other's life and start telling things, and so you really develop a friendship.
Sure.
With a lot of them, and then we come back the next year, and they're all excited to telling us, that they really enjoy the hunt, and so it's, I mean, to me, that's my biggest reward, you know, uh, knowing or finding out that the people were happy with the hunt, that everybody was good with it, and they refer a lot of people to us too.
Yeah. It's got to be pretty rewarding to take over something your dad started, family business, and you've taken it to another level. That's got to be a pretty
It is. It is. My dad passed away 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, and it took him like 40 years to tell me that finally he was proud of what I was doing. You know, I think he was like me, a little too proud to say, "Oh, he's done better than I have."
yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad that's awesome
But
that
you
y'all
know,
communicated that.
he was really happy. He'd live a great life. Almost 94 years old and never even took an aspirin.
Wow.
So
94 years
Wow.
of getting to go out in the woods and watch your family grow up. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'd take that right now. If somebody offered that, 94 is
Yeah,
a real full
I'll
life,
take it.
for sure.
Well, I want to hear. I want to hear about these ocellated birds.
Well, before that, you were going to tell us a story,
Oh yeah.
a gold story.
all right, man, I can think of.
Are they
I
running?
have had many. We were on this ridge, and I said, "Well, there's water on this side, and turkeys like to come across this top, and they normally feed over here, but they come to water this way." And we were on our way back to the lodge, and I said, "I'm gonna stop here and make some calls." So anyway, I called a little bit and didn't hear nothing, and all of a sudden I said, "Man, I need to go to the restroom. I'll be right back." So I just went over the other side, doing my thing, and all of a sudden, boom! He said, "A turkey showed up right there," and I just made a couple of calls, and then the turkey. And I said, "What did you shoot at?" And I said, "The turkey showed up right there after your calls."
I'll bet. Wow.
I've got a similar story to that. It involved going to the bathroom and making some calls. That's hilarious.
But the guy said, "I'll be right back." I didn't plan on taking very long, but all of a sudden, I was just getting to the place with, and all of a sudden, boom, you hear the shot.
I wonder how many times we've called at a turkey hoping to hear something and you don't hear anything and you go 300 more yards down the road. I wonder how often a turkey actually shows up. I bet way more than we think.
Probably so.
But then there's the person that sits there for 2 hours. So if they didn't get a turkey, it's just funny how that works. You sit there for 2 hours, it didn't come up. But if you leave immediately, the turkey probably would have showed up.
That's how I learn. You say, "I'm going to sit here for 2 hours," and then when those 2 hours you don't get up and go, you said, "Well, 15 more minutes," and then after the 15 more minutes, you say 10 more minutes. And that's when the turkey will show up. Well, most of the time, you just think you don't put a time on that. Turkey's going to show up whenever he wants to show up. So you just have to be patient, really patient.
So are these turkeys behaving somewhat similar to our turkeys? In fact, you're going to locate them on. Do they roost in the same trees every night, or do they?
Pretty much. If they don't get bothered, they do have their roosting areas.
And so they're going to fly down. They're going to get with their hens. They're going to carry on, gobble, strut, and just like our turkeys. And then you're on the side of the. I'm trying to grasp in my mind this this terrain is so mountainous. Do they have like? They're going to do this most every morning, or do they? It just depend.
No, no, that they don't have a pattern that they follow every morning.
Yeah.
They're they just go whatever they want, I guess.
Okay, but you're going to hear the birds.
You're going to hear them.
If
Yes.
a bird gets in close, you'll be able to hear him drumming.
Oh, yes. Oh,
just
yeah.
The whole line. And he may not gobble at you, but then all of a sudden he may gobble at some point and let you know where he is.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times they gobble up on the roost, and they gobble a couple of times when they come down, when they fly down. But they get to hands right away, and they don't need to gobble anymore. They
Yeah.
got everything they want right there. But if they gobble, trying to get their hands together, when some of the hands are getting farther up, they'll gobble just to bring them closer. Then you can see, or you can tell pretty much where they're going.
So around here, we like to, when we're setting up on a goblin turkey, we like to have a big tree behind our back and sit on the ground. You guys may not have
No.
huge trees everywhere, so you may be leaning, have a rock against your back, or
Yeah,
just
I mean,
something
the trees are not as big as your trees down here most of the time. Sometimes we do, but not most of the time. But just as long as you don't move, just get some cover on you or something and be still.
Okay.
There is hunters that they cannot sit still, and a lot of them, I just sit them down by a tree and I put a rock by them, and I said, when that rock moves, you can move.
That's a good one.
Do y'all hunt mornings and afternoons?
Yes, morning and afternoon. Yes, if we have properties from our lodge. Our lodge is in a family farm, and we go anywhere from 30 minutes up to an hour and a half away, and you can hunt everything in between. If you go like hour and a half away, we pack a lunch so you can have lunch over there. The weather is really nice, so it's not hot, it's not really cold, so you can take a nap in the woods. Take a hammock or something over there to take a nap and stay there.
Siesta.
Take a siesta.
Yeah.
And then come back hunting towards the launch for the after the afternoon hunt.
Ticks bad down there?
What's that?
Ticks?
No, I mean, there's ticks, but I have never gotten a tick on me turkey hunting.
I'll bet. Wow.
We may need to move over there.
Oh, mate, it does sound so intriguing, And we know a lot of folks that have been down there and hunted with you, so that says a lot for you. That word of mouth business is that you have is impressive. So let's go like where Dudley said a minute ago. Let's talk about the ocellated bird a little bit. Tell us how does that work? Where do you fly into for it? And
you fly into the city of Merida. That's in the state of Yucatan. To give you an idea, it's 250 miles west of Cancun. So everybody knows where Cancun
just
is.
straight
gives you an
down.
idea.
Right below us.
yeah, can't go. I know where can't go.
Yeah, everybody pretty much knows where Cancun is. So
The Yucatan Peninsula.
we will pick you up at the arrival of the flight, take you to a hotel, because if we have different groups, each of them, there's more flights coming into the city of Merida than Chihuahua. It's a biggest tourist attraction. So if you have different groups, like two. I can have a group of 3 guys and another group of another 3 guys coming in where they meet right there, not necessarily know each other then. They book their flights at different times, so we put them in a hotel, but we'll pick them up at the airport, take them to the hotel, and then in the morning will be somebody from the lodge coming in to pick them up and take them to the lodge. Once we get to the lodge, it'll be an orientation talk to everyone to introduce them to their guides, see how the hunt is going to go, and we start hunting that afternoon. The lodge is very similar to the one in Chihuahua. We try to keep the same idea, people that know us from up north hunting the Goulds, try to keep the same idea for the ocellated. And it's a totally different terrain, different bird, you hunt them totally different. They make a different sound, they don't gobble like the turkeys. They call it singing because in Spanish it's canto. So instead of gobbling, they call it singing. And we call them. We put that on a loudspeaker. The sound of the tom of the turkey tom. We put that on a speaker and then call the birds where they're coming in and out of the jungle, because most of the time we're hunting agricultural fields. And the guides go around checking where the birds are coming in and out of the jungle to the agricultural fields, and then we'll set up a blind there and start calling. The same as turkey hunting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but you just find a different area, and the toms will come out and see who's challenging them or who's invading their space. So they come in and they sometimes they gobble back at the call depending on the time. When the time is right, it'll be like a regular turkey hunt, but it's different. It's hot, really hot. It can get to 100 degrees with a 80% humidity.
That's worse than our humidity, Bobby.
And you're in a blind. You're in a blind. The wind is not blowing. If the wind is not blowing, man, it can get pretty hot.
Wow. Well, it's a beautiful bird, though. The ocellated got so colorful.
Beautiful. Weight wise, I would say the biggest one is probably 11 and a half pounds. And they're not really tall birds, but they're beautiful. The coloring is beautiful.
And they've got big old spurs on them too, don't
Oh
they?
yeah. Oh yes, big spurs. The Goulds don't have much of spurs because they rub them off on the rocks or break them off. So we just used to shooting one, picking it up, and no problem. This one, oh, you better watch out. Trying to pick one by the legs. Because spurs are pretty sharp too.
Yeah, it's interesting how they look so much like our wild turkey, but they don't.
Yep. But if you spend enough time over there, you can see that they do act like a turkey. They, like turkeys. They hear anything and they just stand right there and lift their heads and look around. Oh, this one's boom, vámonos. They just take off and don't. They look later. They hear any sound, they hear anything, and they won't be sticking their heads out and see what's going on. They just boom. Anything in the jungle is after them. Everything in the jungle wants to eat them, so they don't stick around too much.
So what is the population like down there?
Very healthy.
Okay.
Lots of birds. Lots of birds.
You hear about a lot of people going over there and hunting them and shooting them, and but again, I bet it's probably very rural. And there's a lot of places left that they aren't being hunted.
Oh
I
yes.
assume.
Oh yeah. Over there, the government lets locals hunt to feed their families. Deer, turkey, they eat anything over there. Kurumandi, and a lot of times you would see you're on the way to the hunt and you see somebody in a motorcycle carrying a single shot shotgun. The guys go check there's a lot of beehives over there too. They go check their beehives, but if they see a deer, they see a turkey, they'll shoot it and bring it to the family to eat. But still, the population is very healthy.
That's great.
Lots of birds everywhere.
That's interesting to me that y'all hunt around the edge of agricultural fields, because that's how we would hunt, at home. A lot of times we kind of key in on those areas.
20 years ago, about maybe 20, 25 years ago, Mennonites started moving into that area. So they're opening the low areas in the jungle where it's good for agricultural, and they just clear that area, and that's where they started farming. But they didn't move until about 20, 25 years ago. Before, it was all jungle hunting, pretty much. You just have to go into the jungle, and if the time is not right, you will not find a turkey in the jungle if they're not singing.
So this making those openings probably improved the habitat and gave them somewhere to go forage. And turkeys are creatures of the edge in the States and apparently way down there.
Yep. So years ago, I had friends that went to hunt the ocellated, and they basically shot them off the limb.
That's what it used to be. That's what it used to be. Locate them. take the guides out in the afternoon, roost the birds, and go early, 3 o'clock in the morning. Go in with a little light. They used to go on the roads, and they have to get into the jungle. They took a roll of toilet paper all the way to where they roosted the bird, and that's how they were going to find out where to go in the morning. And
Leave a trail.
leave a trail. Yeah.
About that. Wow.
And
So that
it's right-
that sounds more like subsistence hunting, but that's what it was.
that's what it was.
And so now it's become a little more sporting because we like the fun in it too. It's
Yeah.
not just about the meal. We like the chess game.
If you had to pick one to hunt the Goulds or to hunt the Ocellated, what would you?
Well, I'm born and raised in Chihuahua, so I have to say the Goulds. Over here in the jungle, everything is green around. You can only see, probably 50 yards, and you get up in the mountain Chihuahua at 7,000 feet over sea level, and you can see forever. So that's what I like.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I mean, that's no different than us. We like hunting in Mississippi more than anywhere else. So he chooses his home turf.
So the state of Chihuahua, is this where the dogs come from?
No, nothing to do with the dogs. Nothing to do with that.
What
No.
does Chihuahua mean?
Chihuahua means it's an Indian word. We have the Tarahumara Indians in Chihuahua, and they're cousins to the Apache Indians. And Chihuahua means a place of very little water. Isn't that right?
Place
Right.
of very little.
You might need to write that down for a future trivia question, Bobby.
And but these dogs, I assume these dogs came from Mexico. I always assumed they came from Chihuahua.
They may have.
Choose the dog person.
Chelita, tell us what's going on,
Oh no.
please.
I don't know. It's
I don't know,
Chihuahuas.
I've never gotten to find out where the dog got their name from. I have never, but no.
Bobby is a very simple man, and he likes to dwell on things like this that ordinary people don't think about. So,
Well, it did cross my mind, but the Goulds hunt at your lodge. It sounds like it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
yeah,
It really does. How many folks can you have in the lodge at one time?
Anywhere 8 to 12. We start with the smaller groups early, and then in the peak of the season, we'll put more, up to 12 guys in camp, and then towards the last 2 weeks of the season, that I know where the birds are starting to ease on the season. We take less people there too.
and is that the same down in Campeche?
It's the same, yes.
Okay, great. So I'll be booking a hunt down there, and Bobby's going to go chase after the Goulds, I think.
We love Moss Yoke. We're camo guys. We love to wear camo. Is everybody, is the Gould's bird, is his eyesight as keen as ours? You mentioned sitting still, but I would expect you still need to be camoed up.
Oh
and
yes. Oh
pay
yeah.
attention to the little details.
Yeah.
You don't want to go that far and then have a white T-shirt underneath.
I know.
to give you away.
No, I know. Yeah, a lot of people ask, what kind of camo should I bring, and I just tell them, any of the Monsieur camo works very good, really, really good.
Yeah,
Any pattern.
it's good to hear. Wow. Well, have you got any questions for us? Normally, we don't ask that of our, but being that you're from
Well-
Mexico and you're here, we're hosting you here in the United States, here in Nashville at the NWTF.
No questions, but just to thank you for taking care of us over here. Making us feel like a family. Like your family. We really appreciate that. Really appreciate everyone. All the people coming to us, and the camaraderie, that you show to us. We're very, very happy about all that, and we just we cannot thank you enough for doing that.
NWTF is a big family, and if you've been coming since 1996, you've met a lot of people through the years.
Yes,
It's like a reunion, I suspect.
It is,
when you
yes.
come back.
yes, it is
Yeah.
like a family reunion, and
Yeah.
everybody, it's just very nice.
So does a guy need to take his own gun, or do y'all have guns?
No, we have guns over there too. A lot of people want to, a lot of people tell me, well, this is the gun that I've taken all my birds with and I want to bring it to Mexico. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. We have to get a gun permit, and it's called a temporary importation of a firearm. And we have to pay a fee to the government, and we get that through the military. On the way in, there will be police and military to check the serial number of the gun, check the number of ammo that you're allowed. You can bring up to 100 rounds. You don't need. Hopefully, nobody needs 100 rounds to kill a
Well,
turkey.
Dudley, but
But it'll be maybe 10 minutes on the way in, and probably another 10 minutes on the way out, because they want to make sure that the same gun that came in is the one that goes out, and that's pretty much it.
well, that's not any different than going to Canada.
Yeah, about the same thing. Yeah, same thing as going to Canada.
So how can guys look you up? You probably got a website. It's Halcon Outfitters.
Halconoutfitters.com.
HALCON.
I want to make sure a guy can go to Google and he can type in El Halcon Outfitters and find you for sure.
Yes.
Facebook pages, Instagram pages, any of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Same way.
My son Carlos Enriquez, or me, Manuel Enriquez, and you can look me up on the Google it, and we'll be right there. Manuel Enriquez Hunting, and it'll be showing all the information right there. We have a U.S. number in my Chihuahua office. It's 575-541-3079. And just like you don't need to call Mexico or nothing. It's be like calling New Mexico, but Patty, my secretary, will answer right there in our office in Chihuahua City.
Okay.
And everybody thinks, "Are you have an office in New Mexico?" And I said, "No, just
a telephone.
it's just a telephone, just a telephone number, because not even the telephone is in New Mexico."
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. We really want to celebrate the fact that you've been doing this for so long, and you've got such a storied career, such a success rate, and you're adding to the lifestyle of the American wild turkey hunter. We love these birds so much, but to have another option like this just makes so much sense. And the Goulds, especially, that's the one I'm kind of gravitating to. But the ocellated is something that, if you ask most anybody around here, it would be on their bucket list of things they'd like to go do. Yeah.
Yeah, I have people that come in, pick up a brochure, 1 year, and then, they don't show up at the convention for a couple of years now. And then, I remember I picked up your brochure, that I'm ready to go. What do I need to, how do I sign up? Or people that going through their brochures, that picked up maybe 3-4 years down the road. I said, "Are you still doing hunts?" And I say, "Yeah, we're still doing this."
That's awesome. Well, so I got to ask, when you're here in the United States, do y'all go to a Mexican restaurant and eat? Do y'all?
Taco Bell.
Well, but so around here it's mostly like Tex-Mex. Is that different than what you guys are used to?
It's a little different. It is different, but sometimes, yeah, when you've been here long enough, you kind of miss a little Mexican in it, so you go to a Mexican restaurant, see how they cook the Mexican food. Our clients over there, we try to give them a mix of American, steaks and potatoes, or a little bit of Mexican. Try to combine that a little bit. We don't go into all straight Mexican menu, because there's people that like it, but maybe not that much, and so we try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Bobby likes the lingua tacos,
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
the tongue.
tongue
No,
tacos.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go there.
Delicious. Awesome.
I had some at the Tienda about a month ago.
Do you have some? Do you like them?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you don't know what you're eating, I mean, it tastes really good.
It is.
Okay, well, I'll take your word for it. Dudley will eat anything. Well, Manuel, we've enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're
Same
you're
here.
a leader in this space and in what you're doing, and you're very well respected. When I told people we were going to be talking to you, everybody gave me a thumbs up that you were just a stand-up guy.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
sure.
Enjoy it.
we've enjoyed meeting your wife,
Thank you.
Chalito. She's been very quiet there, but she has been here the entire time.
She has.
Yep. Dudley, have you got anything else we need to ask them?
I don't think so. I think we laid down a good one.
It's been interesting. It sure has. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley. Get us out of here, Bobby.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.